Alright guys, so before I start this video, I really want to show you something that I did. Guys, look! I grew roses. I'm so excited. They have some issues. There are some black spot issues for some of them, but they are blooming. I have kept them alive. They look fluffy. They're a little pink. They're pinker than I thought they were gonna be, but wow, this is like a huge feat. Because I don't know what I'm doing. Guys, as a new gardener, having these roses bloom has just been so satisfying. They're way pinker than I thought they were gonna be, but they smell so good and they look so pretty, and it just feels good to be able to see that as like a physical accomplishment, you know? It wasn't instant gratification, that's for sure, but it was really satisfying. However, last week I was really worried about them because they were buds and I had waited 1.5 years for these guys, and it got cold. It was like 34, 32 degrees, which is frost. I live in zone 7B and it's been hovering around like 50, 60 degrees during this whole time, and all of a sudden it was freezing. So today I'm here to help give you some tips on how to save your plants from frost. Okay, so tip 1, be conscious when you choose which plants you're going to put into the ground or in a container that they're appropriate for your zone. And zones are broken up so that you can know which plants will work better in your weather conditions in your area. So for me, I was a little less worried about my roses. Since I'm a new gardener, I was worried about the buds, but I knew that they were hardier than, say, my tomato or my basil plant. So this is something just to be conscious of, like which plants to baby and which plants to grow in your area. So tip number 2 is to water in your plants, and this is whether it's in ground or in a container, and that is because wet soil will hold heat better than dry soil. So I followed this tip pretty well, but not well enough. I briefly went over like my smaller shade garden plants that I haven't planted yet, so they only have like this much soil, and I didn't water them deeply enough. So I did, out of all my plants, lose 2 plants. So I do recommend to just make sure to deeply water all of your plants. So tip number 3, and this is particularly important for me as an urban gardener, is bringing in the lighter plants that you have inside. So I have lots of container plants, so I can actually bring some of those inside. And since it's in the evening, I won't really need to worry about bringing it near a spot where there's sunlight. However, if it is going to be, several nights in a row, you might want to put it in front of the sun, or just bring it out during the day and then bringing it back in the evening for however many nights of frost. Usually, if it's a surprise frost, it shouldn't be more than 1, 2, 3 nights. All right, I want to show you all where I'm hiding my plants. It's in the basement of my house that I'm renting. And there was a giant spider in this corner. Now there's not a giant spider. I don't know what that means. I'm a little worried about that. But we did bring her inside and try to put next to a window. Fortunately, these are shade-loving plants, so they should be okay. So tip number 4 is, if you do have container plants and you can't bring them inside, try to cluster them together. This will help hold the heat and also protect them from wind. So I did end up putting a lot of my container plants over by this fence here, and that would help them keep them contained. However, if you don't have a fence like this, you can put it close by the foundation of your house, and the foundation of your house also cuts down at wind and will help keep your plants warmer as well. Tip number 5 is mulching your plants in. So if you have an in-ground plant, you can add Fook was very upset that I'm outside. You can add mulch to the base of your plant, and that will help protect it and keep it a little bit warmer. This also works with hay as well if you have like newer, babyier plants, which you could keep inside, but if you've already planted it, just cover it lightly with some mulch and some hay, and that should keep it nice and warm as well. So tip number 6 is probably the weirdest one for me as a new gardener. And this tip is to actually tuck your plants in. This just felt so extra because I have slowly becoming a plant mom and really caring for these babies that I now have. But actually tucking them in felt bizarre to me. However, it works, so highly recommend it. You can buy specific fabric to cover up your plants that is meant for this purpose. However, I didn't have any of that, so I just used sheets to actually cover them up as much as possible. This works best if the sheet doesn't actually touch the plant, but if it, if it does, then that's fine. You need something to cover it up. So I actually used my fence here and made a fort. So I put in all my babies, all my container plants that I couldn't bring inside, put them right underneath here, and then used the height of that to be like a little fort to cover all of my plants. Well, there goes several sheets. Fortunately, they're very old and I've had them for a while. Otherwise, this looks okay. I look like a crazy person, but I think my plants are safe. I was gonna poke him down, but he doesn't want to be poked, so I'm not gonna do it. He's gonna just live his best dream, and I hope that he blooms more than anything. But otherwise, I've got my tomato plant here, and everything looks pretty protected. Wish me luck. It actually worked really well. Both my basil and my tomato plant, all of my basil and my tomato plant lived. And actually, of all of this, only 2 of my plants, as I mentioned, died. So I'm really happy with these techniques. My roses did end up blooming, so I do think it works. Of course, you can purchase things to help with this. So like the sheets, as I was mentioning, there's also a spray that is made of like pine oil or something that will help retain heat as well. So if you have the time to go and pick something up and spend money on it, you can do that. But for me, this has happened kind of rapidly, and I think it would for most people, which is why you're looking at this video. It's a surprise, so I don't have anything like that. So all of these tips really helped protect my plants, and it's just such a relief to see that they didn't die. All right, guys, those are all the tips that I have for today. I hope these tips help you and help keep your plants nice and safe from the next frost. If you like these types of videos, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.